Yeah, hi, I'm Nisha and we worked with ShapeUp a couple of years ago for insulating our three-bedroom terraced house. So I initially found out through ShapeUp through Checkatrade. There were some recommendations, I read the reviews and then contacted them directly to find out whether or not they could help with our project. So our old property, although it was had double glazing, it was extremely cold, especially in the winter, to the point where like I would be sitting indoors and would be shivering. As soon as the heating would go off, within about 30 minutes, any type of heating or anything that we put to keep the house warm would completely go out, and that was the main reason really for considering the external insulation. And I suppose I went into it a little bit naive because I was going for it for two reasons: for the insulation, but also the aesthetics, because we had pebble dashing on the outside of the house, and it really wasn't something that I liked, especially as like the exterior of the property. We'd done a lot of work to the interior, but the exterior had no curb appeal. So that was another reason we considered it. But I suppose when I go into the naivety of it was, I suppose I was considering the aesthetics and obviously the thermal warmth, but I had no idea how much of a difference the insulation was going to make at the time. So I needed someone that could deliver it within a certain time frame. So there was a time constraint. Someone that was going to be professional, definitely, and easy to work with, and someone that was going to be able to make sure that they did the work to a high standard. We actually did contact a couple of companies, and I think in terms of the time constraints that other contractors were saying was that it wasn't able to meet our scheduling. And I think even when I contacted ShapeUp, there was quite a demand at the time for insulation. However, like I was told that they were confident they could fit us in. So that was it really. It was just the professionalism as well, as whenever I spoke to ShapeUp, they were so professional in terms of their approach. I didn't feel like I was just being told things just to kind of keep me hooked in. And you know, I was definitely said this will be when we'll do it, and it literally was. Yeah, so I guess that again would have been the time and the aesthetics. So making sure that it was done to a high standard externally, and yeah, just ensuring that the whole project ran smooth. Yeah, so the communication was absolutely excellent from the start. So factoring in when materials were going to be delivered to the property, for example. So it wasn't just a case of we opened the door and there was a load of material in our driveway. Like everything was communicated in that respect. The timelines, who will be attending and when. So I think overall, just the professionalism and communication and knowing what was going to happen was really spot on. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. The communication and project management was fabulous. It ran to time and to schedule, and yeah, it was, yeah, no complaints there at all. So the results have been phenomenal. A number of people actually commented on how amazing it looked externally. So I don't think they, at the time, we was probably one of the first within the area that was getting the insulation done, because it was a couple of years ago. But so I think aesthetically people really liked it. We really liked it for the aesthetics. But I think what I hadn't realised was how beneficial the insulation would be to the property. So where I explained that we would have the heating on all day, and as soon as the heating would go off, the heat would just escape. We would literally have the heating on for maybe like an hour and a half in the morning, turn it off because the house was so warm, and then have it off for the whole day and then put it on again in the evening. So it was a massive reduction in cost for our heating, definitely, but also just the comfort as well, because also you don't want to be in a home where you just feel that dry heat constantly. With the heating on as well. So there was a number of benefits really. Yeah, so I'd say it's definitely more noticeable in the winter because that's when we would really see the impacting cost. So again, at the time, we saw a real big reduction in the cost for our fuel bills. And I think that, again, not really knowing exactly how much of a difference that would have been, with the sort of naivety of like knowing that it would be a good product to install in the house. But then to actually see those benefits to the extent, I assumed it would have been like a degree of improvement, but I think the level of improvement sort of like really stunned us all. Yeah, definitely exceeded our expectations, I think, just because of like, yeah, how much of a difference it made to the property overall. And knowing that it's actually been in place for a little bit of time now, is that the quality still remains, that it wasn't a case of like it has been completed and then a year later there's been issues. In fact, it's stayed to its high standard, and I think it will do for many years to come. So I think definitely the communication, being able to meet our timeline, and also which I suppose when you're going through building work as such, is that you would just assume that like the house internally and externally is going to be kept into a reasonable condition. Like, and yes, with external work there was some footfall, but I strongly feel that ShapeUp really tried to minimise the disruption internally into the house as well as externally. So on the day that they arrived, they'd put down protective plastic sheeting outside as well as inside the property as well. At the end of the day, the contractors ensured that it was thoroughly cleaned as much as they could. So it made a real big difference as well. So I think that aspect added that value in terms of actually keeping that sort of like professionalism from start to finish. Highly recommend ShapeUp, definitely, because of the way that they managed the project from start to finish, but also their communication and their transparency. There was never a point where I felt that anything that was being said wasn't going to happen, nor was nothing overpromised at all. So everything that was said actually did take place, which can sometimes be rare in construction projects. So, if I'm entirely honest, like I really couldn't say. Like I would be making something up if I was to say that you could have done something differently. Not at all. I would highly recommend ShapeUp to others. In fact, I have. Whether or not they've gone ahead or not, I don't know. But if the question is ever asked to me about insulation, the benefits of insulation, or who to go to for insulation, I would always recommend ShapeUp.